Hey there. Thank you for joining me for our devotional this week. This week I'm going to use two different entries from the same devotional source. So, in one of the emails that I get, it's called a Slice of Infinity, and it is a almost daily email. They've been missing some days, but it's an almost daily email, Monday through Friday, from Rabbi Zacharias International Ministries, and they'll post things by Rabbi Zacharias every once in a while. But for the most part, they will post things from different writers, some of them who are kind of focused on these devotionals that they send out, others who are different speakers from all over the world. Um, I know the devotionals this week, there's one from a gentleman in India, and there's one from a gentleman in Kenya. Um, and both of these devotionals, I feel like kind of help point toward the same thing. They both kind of speak toward the same thing. And I thought it'd be really good to get a couple quotes from them. Um, the first one, the person is talking about how Christians can use cliches to talk about pain and suffering and death. And how, on the one hand, it feels like so many of those statements are so meaningless, but on the other hand, there's some depth if you get into those statements and you begin kind of experiencing them. There might be a depth to them. And um, the writer states, a common word used to refer to the death of believers in the New Testament is sleep. And we'll hear that sometimes. We'll talk about it. And I know some of the cliches that a lot of people, especially a lot of non-Christians, don't like that Christians use are cliches around death. And this idea of believers just being asleep is another one. And it kind of feels like you're not taking death seriously enough. Like you're just trying to comfort yourself by acting like it's not death. And on the one hand, I kind of get that. I know I felt that in my Christian life sometimes, as I've been living out the Christian faith, not taking seriously enough some aspects of pain and suffering in life that are hard and painful. And I feel like there have been times where I've been the one to just adopt the cliche and try to move on. But uh, as with most cliches, there's a reason that the sayings came about, and living out and experiencing that reason can help us find a lot of meaning. And this is another one. The writer, again, a common word used to refer to the death of believers in the New Testament is sleep. Yet when the Bible talks about the death of Jesus, it never uses that word. Jesus died so that we might sleep and wake up again to a world where all is made well again. Death was our destiny until the resurrection of Jesus made it a door. Just this idea that like the New Testament is actually saying something profound when using the concept of sleep to talk about Christians who died, that before Jesus it was death, and with Jesus it was death. But now that Jesus has died, that word doesn't quite apply to what happens at the end of our life anymore. Jesus died so that death is no longer the permanent thing that it was, and the best word that Christians first had to talk about death was just sleep. Well, there is sleep. It's not death anymore, not to the same extent. And this gets moved forward in the next day's devotional. The writer is talking about these figures in the Bible who come up for a brief moment. They get a small little statement about who they are and what they're doing, and then they go away. John the Baptist, Simeon and Anna, who show up just for a little paragraph or a sentence during Jesus' birth narrative, and many others throughout history. There are many Christians throughout history who made an impact but are either mostly unknown or just pop up in these very small moments. And the writer calls them shooting stars, and then this will tie into the look at death that our first writer had. This writer says, shooting stars are not stars at all, talking about what we know about shooting stars. They are broken pieces of rock or metal that burn up once they come into contact with the Earth's atmosphere, eventually landing upon the Earth as dust. Just like the moon, the light they reflect is not their own, but unlike the moon, they are used up in the process of lighting up the sky. What a fitting metaphor for the myriad of individuals, like John the Baptist, Simeon, Anna, and countless others throughout history, who have been content to be used up for the sake of the kingdom of God. Of such the world is now worthy. Even though they do return to the earth as dust, the earth itself will eventually have to give up even their bodies, for the babe of Bethlehem clothed himself with dust, so that the person of dust may be eternally clothed with glory. Think about these things for just a moment. Think about, we talk about death as a sleep because Jesus died, so now our death isn't permanent. We say at funerals, I've said at countless funerals, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, that people, when they die, they go back to the ground. And Jesus, in coming to earth, didn't just, come die, okay, that's fine, but came to earth, became one of us, became like us, tempted in every way that we are, but without sin, like us in every way that we are, except without sin. And us as dust now can be clothed in the glory of Jesus. Whether just knowing that we can pass through this life and not have to fear death, or whether knowing that we might flame out like a shooting star, but for that moment we reflect the glory of God. And even though that might happen in this life for just a brief moment, we can be eternally clothed in that glory because Jesus became one of us. These were just two powerful statements that really inspired me as I read them, and I hope that they inspire you to maybe to be a shooting star. Who knows how much more time any one of us might have left? Who knows the amount of significance any person could make? But all of us can reflect the light of Jesus into our communities. And even if it's just for a moment, that moment, all of us get to experience the glory of God. And so I pray that these quotes help to inspire you the same way that they've inspired me this week. And I am very grateful that you guys keep tuning in and listening to these videos. Really does mean a lot. So thank you guys very much. God bless you all.